Things You Count, page 73. Right before Thanksgiving, Colin and Anna Marie were behind the counter weighing a slimy heap of sliced turkey into quarter-pound piles separated by pieces of waxed paper. Jimmy said they should do a whole week's worth. But won't it go bad? Anna Marie asked. Nah, stuff's full of preservatives. Colin licked his lips and said, Yum, yum, chemical turkey. Shut it, Jimmy said. For once, I was happy to be counting the rolls. Now that he had us, Jimmy seemed to have nothing to do. He sat on one of the stools bolted to the floor in front of the big front window and watched me with his arms crossed over his chest, his hands tucked under his yellow-stained armpits. He had already rejected my V-cut for the day. It was waiting for me on a tray behind Anna Marie, getting dry as usual. Luckily, Jimmy didn't limit our use of mayonnaise. Looky, Jimmy said, pointing his chin toward the window. There goes one of your little friends. On the other side of the street, Julia was walking alone, wearing her orange suede knapsack and an orange suede headband that matched. Matching suede knapsacks and headbands were probably all the rage in Switzerland, I thought. You mean Swiss, miss? I grabbed 2 rolls and dropped them into the bag at my feet. She's not my friend, not even close. He smiled slowly. Swiss, miss. That's a good one. He stared outside for another minute and then stood up. You're funny. You know that? I shrugged, still counting, but happy. A compliment from Jimmy was a rare thing. When I finished, I folded the top of the bag and lugged it to its spot behind the counter. Jimmy had disappeared into the back. Anna Marie was giggling at something Colin had said. Ever since our foreheads had touched, looking at Colin made me feel strange. But good strange, not creepy strange. 80, I called out to Jimmy, right on the nose. Better luck next time, he yelled back. Colin looked at me and grinned, causing my stomach to sort of float inside my body. He's dying for the bread order count to come up short, you know. You should throw a roll in the trash one day, just to make him happy. Don't listen to him, Miranda, Anna Marie said. He's just trying to get you in trouble again. But while she was talking to me, she was looking at Colin, and her expression was funny, as if her stomach might be floating too. Next chapter is called Messy Things. Anna Marie and I stopped in the 4th floor bathroom before going back to class before lunch. She said she wanted to wash her hands again after all that turkey. Today was fun, she said, looking at herself in the mirror and combing her hair with her fingers. I wish we got more than 40 minutes for lunch. I hate counting bread, I said. It's boring. She laughed. At least your hands don't smell like chemical turkey. At least you get to goof around behind the counter with Colin, I thought. I'm always running to the store, cleaning up some gunk or stuck talking to Mr. Yellowstains. Let's go, I said. I'm starving. Julia was standing right outside our classroom, almost as if she was waiting for us. Oh, no. She sighed deeply and pointed at Anna Marie's arm. Oh, Anna Marie, your turquoise sweater. It's your favorite. Poor you. And Mom thought I was dramatic. Anna Marie looked down at the hem of her sweater, which had some mustard on it. I had no idea it was her favorite. It'll come out, Anna Marie said. My dad will get it out. Julia leaned against the wall and adjusted her headband. What I don't understand is why you're working at all. It's not like you need the money. Here, she stopped to glance at me. And no offense, but that place is kind of disgusting. I saw a roach there once. I like it there, Anna Marie said. It's actually pretty fun. That guy who works there is gross. He's not gross, I said, and he doesn't, I made air quotes, work there. He owns the store. We don't get paid, Anna Marie said softly. It's just the sandwiches. And sodas, I said, waving my Sprite. Right, Julia said, talking just to Anna Marie, as if I didn't exist. Like you're supposed to be eating sandwiches and drinking soda. Anna Marie's face folded up a little. It's fine. Fine, Julia said. Forget it. Mr. Tompkin came to the door. Why aren't you 3 inside? Silent reading period started 5 minutes ago. As we walked in behind Julia, I whispered to Anna Marie, No wonder you don't want to be friends with her anymore. She's so rude to you. For a second, Anna Marie didn't see anything. Then she mumbled, Yeah, sometimes. And we separated to go to our desks. Mr. Tompkin had left a book on my desk. He was always trying to get me to read something new. This one had a picture of a spunky-looking girl on the cover and some buildings behind her. I pushed the spunky girl aside, pulled my book out of my desk, and opened it randomly to see where I would land. Meg was on the planet Camazotz, where all these little boys are in front of their matching houses, bouncing their matching balls, and all the balls hit the ground exactly the same time, every time. Then all the boys turn at the same second and go back into their identical houses, except for this one boy. He's outside all alone, his ball rolls into the street, and then his mother comes out looking all nervous and carries him into the house. I was thinking about how much Mr. Tompkin would hate the idea of a place where all the houses look exactly the same when something stung me hard behind the ear. I jerked my head up and saw Julia laughing silently over her book. I looked down on the floor and saw the rubber band she had shot at me, at my head. I thought we were just irritating each other, but I was wrong. This was war. Next chapter is called Invisible Things. We will read it next time. Invisible Things. The next time I saw Marcus, I was absolutely sure he would remember me. I was in the main office because Mr. Tompkin had sent me down to pick up some mimeographs. Why do you kids need diagrams of the water system is beyond me, Wheelie said as she handed them to me from her chair. They're for Main Street, I told her. We're trying to make working hydrants. Well, that may be the silliest thing I've ever heard, she said, waving me away. I love the smell of new copies. Mom says I have an attraction to dangerous smells, her main example being the fact that I love to stand in a warm cloud of dry cleaner exhaust and take deep breaths. There's something very food but not food about the smell of dry cleaner exhaust. She always pulls me away and says that she's sure in 10 years we'll find out that it causes horrible diseases. I was walking back toward the stairs, quietly inhaling the smell of the 32 freshly copied diagrams of the New York City water system when Marcus came out of the stairwell reading a book. Hey, I said, but he walked right past me, past the main office and around the corner to where the dentist's office is. Back in class, I passed out the diagrams like Mr. Tompkin asked me to. I accidentally ripped Julia's before I gave it to her and accidentally crumpled it a little too. Alice Evans was squirming in her chair like she was doing a hula dance. Ugh, I rolled my eyes. No wonder she was the only sixth grader who had to bring an extra set of clothes to school. Next chapter is called Things You Hold On To. According to Jimmy, there's a $2 bill in circulation for every 12 $1 bills. But people hold on to them, he said, while I was putting on my jacket to go to the store. The light bulb over the sink in the back room had burned out, and Jimmy didn't have any extras. People think $2 bills are special. That's why you don't see them around much. Yeah, I thought, people like you. But I kept my face blank because I wasn't supposed to know what was inside his Fred Flintstone blank. They hate him over at the A&P, though. No space in a cash register for a $2 bill. They got to pull out the tray and store them underneath, and they always forget they're in there. That's why you have to ask for them. Okay, I said. I'll ask. Anna Marie was behind the counter with her apron on, looking happy. Some kids from school had come in, paying customers, and she was writing their names and mayonnaise on their sandwiches before pressing her perfect V-tops down onto them. Colin was next to her doing the same. Anna Marie gestured me over. I noticed that she was either very warm or she was wearing makeup. I'm going to ask Jimmy if we can have meatballs for lunch, she whispered, since it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. Great, I said, even though I didn't find those meatballs any more appealing than my usual cheese sandwich. They just sat there in the pot, day after day. I'll be back in a minute, I told her. If anyone orders hot chocolate, tell them to wait for me. There were no $2 bills at the A&P, and when I got back to Jimmy's with the light bulbs, the kids were gone, and Julia herself was standing in front of the sandwich counter. Anna Marie and Colin had started making their lunches already. Jimmy had said no, I guessed, to the meatballs, because they were picking through the cheese. Julia, who was pretending I hadn't just walked in, seemed to be in the middle of a long speech about how American cheese wasn't even real cheese, strictly speaking. I saw her long fingers gesturing toward the not cheese, and I knew instantly that her V-cut would be flawless, that by Monday she would be behind that counter with Anna Marie and Colin, and that her apron, the same kind of that looked gray and baggy on everyone else, would somehow be perfect on her. She would have a way of tucking it up to fit, some trick a waiter in Paris had taught her. Then Jimmy came out from the back room, holding a stack of dripping plastic trays. You, he pointed at Julia with an armful of trays. Out. I already told you once. Julia snatched her hand back from the setup tray. Anna Marie flushed. We're just talking, Anna Marie said. There's no customers here now. Actually, I'm a customer, Julia said, crossing her arms over her chest. I came to buy a sandwich. I have money. She stuck out one pretty boot so that the green leather tip pointed up at the ceiling. Out, Jimmy said, practically growling. Now. After she left, I pretended along with Anna Marie that Jimmy was a little bit crazy. But as we walked back to school with our cheese and lettuce sandwiches, I carried a new warm feeling inside. Jimmy can be a grouch, but he saw right through Julia, just like I did. Next chapter is called Salty Things.